the veil is being lifted, right? Very much so. Like the shadows are being revealed, the inconsistencies are being revealed, the lies that we tell ourselves, maybe even that other people tell us, are being revealed. This card to me, it does also speak to illusion of like feeling trapped. Obviously she's bound, right? And her eyes are covered, like this feeling of being trapped, but she's still standing, like she's on her feet, right? And she's even taking a step forward. And it's like we set up these stories in our mind in order to cope with how the world is, how people treat us. We set up these stories about who we are, and they're false, right? Like they're not true. They're aspects that are created for us to be able to survive in the world that we live in, right? And because we are now adults, we can take responsibility for who we are and take responsibility for our lives and the way that we want to live them and the way that we want to show up in our life, right? Hello and welcome to 2025. My name is Rachel. I'm an emotional and spiritual wellness practitioner, and we're going to be doing a reading today. Typically, it would just be a monthly energy reading, monthly intuitive message, but I do feel called to pull at least one card, maybe a couple cards around the overall energy of 2025 for the collective, and I'm just going to intuitively see if I feel called to pull more cards. I do this just very much in flow. A couple things before we get into it. I do have a free meditation available. It's a Reiki infused meditation. There's a link in the description below, and I am going to be launching my membership very soon. It is called The Lighthouse. There will be a couple energy healings in there every month. There will be integration activities that go along with the monthly energy readings that I do. There will be either meditations or yoga nidras. I'm not sure. I'm sure at some point there will be both in there. And as more people join, I want to see what feels aligned for the people in that space and get feedback from them on what they want more of, what you want more of in that space. So definitely check that out. If you sign up for the free meditation, then you will be in the space, in the free membership space that I have, where you'll get updates on when the Lighthouse will officially be launching. So let's get into it. We're going to start with pulling, it feels like a couple cards around 2025. I do want to pull a card from the tarot around what card represents the year 2025 for the collective. So we're going to start there. We have the Four of Cups. Interesting. Tuning in here. It feels like this need to definitely go inwards. I was also feeling like looking in the external as well, but this feels like a self-reflection moment of where are you missing the point, it feels like, is what's coming through, right? Because if you look at the imagery here, it's like there's an individual who may be a little pouty, definitely in some kind of emotional state. And then we have the Three Cups in front of him and another cup being handed to them. And it feels like this Four of Cups energy, I do feel like stagnation there, but it feels like this need to like open our eyes to what is being shown to us, what we're being guided to, right? Like we're being literally handed a gift here, and we have three more in front of us that we are maybe lacking gratitude for. And then again, like we're being handed something, right? We're being shown and guided to something more. And I do want to pull another card around this. Yeah, this does feel like there's going to be a couple more cards around this. Okay. The Empress. Yeah, it's like, yeah, wow. It is really like this card does have to do a lot with manifestation and also recognizing the beauty around us, right? Like that we might be missing that's right in front of us. Um, and it does feel like in order for us to bring in the richness in our lives that we kind of so desperately want, right? That we crave really. Um, like we have to be grateful for what we have, and we also have to like be willing to sit with the emotions that are uncomfortable. I'm feeling that too. Interesting. I'm going to pull another card here. Okay, and the Queen of Cups. Yeah, it's very much emotional mastery, really. And it's like, I don't know, this card feels so much more poignant or significant with the Queen of Cups in it, and with the Empress here too. It's like, you know, the Queen of Cups is so much water. It is you know, the queen represents water in the tarot, and then the cup suit represents water as well, and water is emotions and fluidity and really like being in yourself, especially like the Queen of Cups energy. It's very much an inner space, like doing the inner work. And it does feel like this call to mastering our emotions, mastering how we interact with the world around us, right? And like what we want to bring into the world. And the Empress is so much, it's very much a receiving energy rather than a doing. And like especially with the Queen of Cups here, it's really it's this feels like an energy that is really about knowing yourself, like getting to know yourself, like getting in the flow, getting in your creativity, um, getting in your authentic expression, and getting into a place of receiving, right? Like we have to work through these uncomfortable emotions. We have to recognize our shadow aspects, whatever that is for you. I know mine definitely look like this person, pouty, and they look like other things also. So it's different for everyone, and it really comes from knowing yourself and like being willing to look at what's going on within you, being willing to look at what is being reflected back to you in the world, right? Because the world is our mirror. This is a really, yeah, and tuning back into the receptivity of the Empress, it's just like there's so much that is available to us that we like cut off because of whatever reason, right? Like all of the conditioning that we have experienced as humans on Earth at this time, um, and all of the wounds that we've experienced that can cut us off from receiving as well. Like it's always available to us. We just have to tune into it, right? It's just a different frequency than what we might be at right now, right? But source and love is always flowing through you. It's just a matter of, do you see it, and are you willing to do something with it, right? Are you willing to use it, and allow it to like flow through you and work through you, right? Like life is a co-creative process. It's not just you doing the things, and it's not just source doing the things for you. Like you are an aspect of source. You are an extension of source that has chosen to come into a physical reality and experience what that's like, right? And there's a lot of ups and downs. Like we live in a a universe of polarity, so we get a lot of back and forth, right? A lot of different ends of the spectrum, and tuning into like your challenges, like looking at what your challenges in your life have been overall, but also like recently, like in this past year. I highly encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to do some reflection of the past year and see if there has been kind of a theme or a pattern that has come up in in the challenges that you've been experiencing. Maybe there are patterns of certain emotions that you're experiencing. Maybe you attract certain people into your life, that it's always the same kind of person, and maybe you don't want to be attracting those people into your life. You know, taking a look at like what patterns are coming up for you so that you can work with them, to release them, to heal them, to process them, and ultimately to tune into the most authentic version of yourself, the most divinely expressed version of yourself. So beautiful. Okay, so that's our 2025 energies. It feels like there's something more here for 2025. I don't know if this is going to be a full 2025 reading. I sat down to do the January energy reading, and now I'm feeling more of the 2025 energies coming through. So, okay, so we have some more cards we're going to pull here. What are they about? It's more cards about the energy of the collective. Okay, so there's going to be 3 more. The energy of the collective for 2025. Okay, Judgment. The 5 of Swords. And Justice. Interesting. Okay. Tuning in here, Judgment. Judgment is very much spiritual awakening. It is really knowing like your place in the world, and by that I mean your place in the divine world, like your connection to infinite potential, your soul as an infinite infinite aspect of yourself, like knowing that and taking actions from that place, right? From knowing who you really are. I think I mentioned this last month, maybe in the November energy reading, of like an affirmation that I use when I'm feeling a little off kilter, ungrounded, crazy, frankly, is like, I know who I am. Because there is so much more to who you are than just this physical expression of yourself, and your physical expression of self is beautiful, and it is also a part of your spiritual self, right? So tuning into that aspect of self, right, like this spiritual awakening energy coming through, especially like with this first energetic theme for 2025 that we had come through, of working with our emotions, processing the uncomfortable things so that we can be receptive to this spiritual awakening that we're coming into, right? And I know that I have definitely noticed a bigger open-mindedness, I guess, of spirituality, or even just, you know, there being something more than just this physical reality, right? So let's tune in here with the 5 of Swords. The 5 of Swords energy, it is conflict, and it does feel like, and plus with this Justice card, like the Justice card, it is so much of like, there is no way for things to be wrong, like they will always be righted. Let me see if I can explain that a little bit more. Whatever goes out of balance will always find its way back to equilibrium, back to homeostasis in the grand scheme of the universe, right? And that includes like in our own lives, right? Like I had mentioned earlier, we have these polarities in our worlds that we experience, very different ends of a spectrum of all kinds of things. And swinging to one end of the spectrum, like in order for that energy to be balanced, like it's often that we swing to the other end of the spectrum, right? So that we can experience both sides of it and figure out how to manage coming into the middle. And like, I'm feeling called to say again, like it's not about so much doing as it is about experiencing and embracing and allowing, right? Like this feels again very much like an inner job. And when I tuned into this 5 of Swords energy initially, it was very much like inner conflict, right? Like this inner back and forth of it's you know, like this conversation between what we actually want, what we think we want, what our ego wants, what the people around us want from us, like what we think we're supposed to be doing versus what we feel on a soul level called to be doing. And it feels like this back and forth, right? And that is so much a part of a spiritual awakening, right? Like once you begin to awaken, you begin to see things in a totally different way. You know, illusions are removed from how you see the world from your perspective, right? Like all of the ways that you think the world works are are it turns out to be not true, right? Like there's a lot of um illusion that we experience as humans because that's just kind of like the way the world is set up right now, right? Our 3D reality experience, and as we come to terms with that and learn that there's so much more to who we are, like we open up to this balance that I was speaking to and this receptivity of peace, really, and like understanding and compassion and love, right? And to like living in alignment with who we really are, right? Alignment, that term gets thrown around a lot in the spiritual space, and to me it means like knowing who you are on a soul level, beneath all of the ego stuff, beneath all of the wounds, beneath all of the conditioning, beneath everything. Like strip it all away. Like who are you? Strip away your physical self. Like who are you, right? Like take away all of your relationships and your titles and roles. Like who are you beneath all of that? Yeah, it feels like this knowing of who we are is really coming in quite strongly this year. Here I was thinking I was going to pull one card for 2025. I'm like, oh, one card. And here I am doing a full 2025 reading. Yeah, it's the awakening that is really coming through strongly here. So let's see what else. Okay, we're going to do 3 more tarot cards here. Okay, another, yeah, energies of the collective for 2025. Okay. The 6 of Coins, Pentacles. The 6 of Wands. And the Chariot. Interesting. Okay. 6 of Pentacles, 6 of Wands, the Chariot. Let's tune in here. 6 of Pentacles, to me, it feels so resonant in reciprocity with the physical world. Again, it feels like this kind of like give and take, this like balancing almost of like the earth provides us with so much life force energy, and a supportive energy and healing as well. And we receive that, and it comes through our expression, right? In a unique way, because we are unique aspects of the divine, right? And the same with like divine source energy coming through from above, right? Even though it's all around us really, but visually for our minds to understand it, right? It feels like this coming together of physical and spiritual in a new way. It's like this binding together almost, even though like there is no separation from, no true separation from source. There is the perception of separation from source, and that is typically where we, find our shadow aspects. But it feels like this new, I feel like it's more of this like understanding and embodiment of this unity between physical reality and non-physical reality. Let me tune in here to Six of Wands. Yeah, because it's like, it's kind of like this coming home energy, this like, oh, finally, like I finally feel at home in who I am, in my skin, in my knowing, right? Like if you connect to these energies that I was speaking to earlier, in this being open to receiving, being willing to work with your emotions, work with your inner world, and like really go deep in that space, right? And being open to this awakening that's happening, and again the like internal conflict that comes up with that, but knowing that there's balance that will eventually find its way to you, and that you can actively choose to bring towards you, right? Yeah, it's like a coming home energy. And then the Chariot here, wow, we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 4 major arcana cards. 4, yeah, that's fitting for a yearly reading, I feel. Chariot energy, there's kind of like a grounded action in the Chariot, but there is also like a magic energy in it as well. It's like we are being guided and carried into this next step, right? Our next path, or our next journey, or whatever it is that we're working on, working with, right? Sorry if you hear my kitty in the background. They had to be separated from me because they cause too many problems when I'm trying to record. But they're sad that they're not in here. So I'm sad they're not in here also. So this Chariot energy, it is like forward momentum, right? It kind of feels like the ball is already rolling and there's no stopping it, right? Like it's kind of like hop on board, we're going. We're moving forward, and we can open up to that opportunity to move forward, or we can, like I have done many, many times, even very recently, we can choose to be closed off from it and be stubborn in where we are right now, because it's safer, because it makes more sense to us, because it's what we feel we should be doing, from a place of like disconnection from who we are. It feels like, it's like we can choose to work with what is being given to us, right? This very first card that came through, like we can choose to work with what is being handed to us, what we have right in front of us, or we can not, right? Like we can choose to ignore what our bodies have been telling us for so long, what our intuition has been telling us for so long, like what our inner child has been asking for us for so long, right? Asking from us for so long. Right? Like there are so many aspects of us that we tend to ignore, and again, like cut off from the truth of who we are, from our connection to source, from our like pure bliss state, because of like the world is, it can be a very challenging place to be, being in this dense of a reality, and with so much darkness, frankly, that is especially coming up a lot now, because there is so much more light coming into the earth, and so the darkness is being exposed. That's why the world looks the way that it looks right now. It's because there's more light coming into the earth, and that might be hard to comprehend, especially if you are in a dark night of the soul space right now. If you're really heavy in like a shadow period, like it can be really hard to agree with that. And I've been there, you know. I just, I know what that's like. Um, and also, like, everything balances out. And again, we have a choice on how we want to work with what we're being given. And I just want to say again, like, I definitely have chosen to sit in a space at times where, like, this isn't fair, like a place of victimhood, right? And a place of blame of others. Like, this is everyone else's fault. Like, this is the world's fault. Like, why would I choose to be here on earth? This is terrible. I've been in that place a lot. I've been in that place recently. Um, so I feel you if you're there. It's like, we get to choose how we see the world. Um, and being in that space for me, it doesn't feel good. There is some satisfaction that my ego gets from like standing its ground and being stubborn, right? There's satisfaction in that space, but it's like, it's empty satisfaction, and then it just causes more pain and discomfort for me, and it prolongs my expansion, right? um it's just, that's just how it is sometimes, you know. And that's how I've been a lot, and I've been that way recently. And knowing what we know, like coming into this spiritual awakening, like knowing that we are so much more than just our physical selves, like what are we going to do with that information? Or like when we gain awareness of something that is going on with us, what are we going to do with that information, right? Like, what are we going to do with that new knowledge that we have? Are we going to um, allow it to take over our lives? Or are we going to come into our center, come into who we really are, and say, no, this is not what is going to be running my life. Like, I am going to be the one deciding how my life goes, because I'm the one who has to live it, right? I'm the one that has to live in the day-to-day of it. So I want to choose how I experience it. And that comes from our perspective. That comes from the choices we make, the beliefs that we hold, the thoughts we think, the relationships we have. Like, we get to choose how we experience our life through our perspective, the perspective that we have, if we're willing to be more open-minded and open to, maybe this challenge is serving me in some way. Maybe all of the challenges I've experienced are serving me and have served me in some way, right? Have given me what I needed to be strong enough to be who I am right now, right? So I definitely invite you to open up to those perspectives, different perspectives. Do a bunch of journaling around it, right? Like about how you feel about things, how you feel about yourself, like what your stance is on your current experience of reality, and do you like it, right? Like, that's kind of just what it comes down to, is like, do you like what your perspective is? Do you like the way that you show up in the world? Do you like who you are? Do you like the life that you have? Really, that's kind of like what it comes down to. And if you don't, then like, let's find a way to work with ourselves to get us in a place where we like our life. I personally would like to enjoy my life, you know? Um, and it can be a really challenging thing to take hold of when we feel like life is whipping us around and dragging us through the mud, and it's just relentless and never ending. But there is so much potential in you to choose the direction you want to go in your life, right? Even if you're in a dark space right now, you're in a dark night of the soul, you're in a lot of processing, like, you still get to choose the direction you're going in your life. So let's see if there are any other cards that want to come through here. It feels like there might be a few more. Okay, let's do 3 more. Okay, one popped out. It is the Devil, and then we have Fool. Okay. And the Eight of Swords. Okay, so we had the Devil pop out. They pulled the Fool and Eight of Swords. Yeah, it is 8. Sometimes my brain forgets what the 7 and the 8 of Swords look like. Okay, so interesting. So the Devil energy, I feel like it can be tricky for some people. It definitely was for me, having been raised Catholic. To me, in this, let me tune into it in this moment and see exactly what it is that's coming through with it here. It feels like the separation energy, the disconnection from source and the truth of who we are, all of the things that I was speaking to kind of in all of these energies here. It feels like this disconnection and like the shadow aspects kind of like wanting to take hold of like how you live your life, right? And I want to say this is a really, really valuable thing to bring into your mindset, a really valuable perspective to have, is to think about how, first of all, think about like the different parts of you, right, that are coming through that are really, that are stubborn or angry or unwilling to change or feel like they're never going to get out of where they're at right now. Like, look at those, like the emotions that you have, the thoughts that you have, sit down with them and see like, what does this part of me need? Like, look at it as a part of yourself, right? If you're familiar with internal family systems, it can be really helpful to kind of figure out what's going on within you and to figure out who you are, right? Like, encompassing everything that is within you, but also like the truth of who you are, as I was speaking to earlier, like the one who makes the decisions, right? Like, who's the decision maker? Is it like this part of you that is like your inner teenager and they're just like pissed? Are you letting that part of yourself make your decisions? um no judgment. Yeah, it feels like getting to know the parts of yourself that have been running the show that maybe need to sit down. And we want to speak to these parts of ourselves with love. Sometimes it's a firm love. Sometimes they need a little bit of more gentle approaches. It's just very different, right? It's again like getting to know yourself, getting this mastery of self, of like knowing who your different parts of self are, the different emotions that you have, what triggers you, what your patterns are. It's all of that. And like this card coming through, it is significant because it means that like there is a willingness to see what is going on, right? And especially with the Fool energy here, it's like the Fool is it's the very first card in the major arcana, and it is the starting point, the beginning of the hero's journey, right? And it's like, and here with the Eight of Swords energy too, it's like the veil is being lifted, right? Very much so. Like the shadows are being revealed, the inconsistencies are being revealed, the lies that we tell ourselves, maybe even that other people tell us, are being revealed. Like this card to me, it does also speak to illusion of like feeling trapped. Obviously she's bound, right? And her eyes are covered, like this feeling of being trapped, but she's still standing, like she's on her feet, right? And she's even taking a step forward. And it's like we set up these stories in our mind in order to cope with how the world is, how people treat us. About it, we set up these stories about who we are, and they're false, right? Like they're not true. They're aspects that are created for us to be able to survive in the world that we live in, right? And because we are now adults, we can take responsibility for who we are, and take responsibility for our lives and the way that we want to live them, and the way that we want to show up in our life, right? Okay, let's see here. I feel an oracle card pull wanting to come through. I want to see which deck we want to pull. Okay, we're going to do the Stone Oracle. The Ancient Stones Oracle. So let's do this card. Okay, this feels like kind of an overall guidance message, similar to how I do my monthly energy readings. This is our 2025 guidance message here. Okay, quite poignant, quite fitting for this reading I just gave. The cycle breaker. You'll get through it. Cycle ending. I have full body chills. That is what this is. This whole reading that I did here, this is what that is. We are clearing karmic cords, karmic attachments, like deep-rooted old stuff from since humans have been on Earth, right? Like, that might sound a little dramatic or crazy, but like that's what's happening right now. There are a lot of things happening behind the scenes, in the non-physical space, that are supporting us and helping us like overcome this. I want to get really clear on what is coming through here. It's like there's a lot of support for us to work with the falsehoods that we have been fed, right? About who we are, about what the world is, about our place in the universe, in our galaxy, about our place on Earth. And we're like cutting ties with all of the bullshit that has been holding us back from who we really are. And especially the card saying you'll get through it, like, it speaks to the cyclical nature of existence, right? But then also, if you look at the broader perspective of humanity as a whole, of the earth as a whole, like, it's cyclical, right? And it really comes back to this Justice card energy, this like everything will be righted. Is that how you say that? Everything will be right, like as a verb. It's like this is all temporary, and I feel like we need to be reminded that this is all temporary. Like, our life is a dream. We come down into the physical reality as a soul wanting to experience a different personality and different physical reality experiences, right? And then when we pass, we return to the non-physical, and that is our infinite self. That is who we really are, right? And all of these things that we talked about today, that came through in this reading, they're all part of this process of expansion and like evolution as a collective, right? Of like where we are going in the future, like our growth as a species, really. And we each play a role with that, like with our own individual challenges and journeys that we are on. We all play a role in the collective expansion and evolution. So, in my membership, I will probably be adding in some additional things around this 2025 reading as well. I did not expect to do a full 2025 reading. I was going to pull 1, 2, maybe 3 cards about 2025 and then move on to the January energy reading, but here we are. So I'll do a separate January 2025 energy reading, and I am really grateful that you are here. I'm grateful that you exist. Thank you for spending this time with me, for being willing to listen, to be willing to do the work for yourself. If you have stayed this long in the video, it's, you know, a 40-ish minute video at this point, I would really appreciate if you liked it and also subscribed, so then it helps me grow, it helps more people find me, but it also helps you see more content that I make also. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I would love to hear what your word is for 2025. Mine is expansion. My 2024 word was peace. So yeah, definitely leave a comment. Make sure you download the free meditation that I have. Keep an eye out for my membership opening up. It's called The Lighthouse. And I hope you have a beautiful and blessed and fruitful 2025.